Well, this interview did not go the way I expected it to, and that's a good thing. I was really impressed with Heavy Kevy from Insanity Alert. They've got a new EP coming out this week called Mashimi and Thrashity.
This is the real life, this is no counterfeit. Caught in the first row, no escape from the circle pit. Got punched in the eye, and now I can hardly see. I'm just a small dude, this is no place for me. It's the wall of death, please God no, let me out.
That's right, it's a parody of the Queen song. The other songs on the album are also parodies of Guns N' Roses and Iron Maiden and George Michael. But don't let that jokey exterior fool you the way it fooled me. I was doing my research to do this interview, and all the interviews was talking about drinking beer and doing drugs and having fun, rock and roll. So that's the light attitude that I went into it with. And what I got was really insightful answers from Heavy Kevy. I'm reminded of the quote from George Bernard Shaw, "Genuinely intellectual work is humorous." That's right, it takes a bit of intelligence to make a good joke. So I really appreciate that surprise. Now, please forgive the video portion of the interview because our bandwidth wasn't the greatest. So Zoom sort of compensated for the bandwidth, the lack thereof rather, with, lessening the quality of the video, but the audio should be good. And I think you'll enjoy this interview with Heavy Kevy from Insanity Alert. Heavy Kevy from Insanity Alert. Welcome to Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm glad to have you. So the new EP is Mashimi and Trashity on May 17th.
All correct. Yes. We never thought it would actually see the light of day. But yeah, now it's done. We recorded it. We did the videos, and the label said they want to release it, so it's going to be out May 17th.
You said you didn't think it would see the light of day. Was there a big obstacle in the way or something?
Nah, but for us, it's sometimes just different. Like we come up with ideas sometimes at really random times and situations that most people think, okay, better not to write anything down of this. And we had this whole idea. This went from one sentence to, me just saying like, Moshimi and Thrashity to the whole songs, and then people started dropping in lyrics, and then we decided just to do it because we've been super lazy during the whole COVID time, and that basically stole 2 years of everyone, I guess. And we didn't do a new record, so we felt we were still touring and we still love being in the band. So you gotta give the people something if they to let them know that you're still a band. Really, sometimes maybe not if you're like huge like Metallica, but bands like us, we tour, we put records out, and that's how people sort of stay in touch with us. So but then the idea was for us sometimes kind of weird. We figured, I don't know if they're gonna do it. And when we talked to Season of Mist, our record label, they were already in the beginning. They were like, "What? It's 4 songs, and how are we gonna do this? And they're not really yours, but they are yours." So it was for them also kind of a challenge, I think. But so far everything worked out. Now we just gotta wait and see what the people think of it.
I definitely want to ask you about that whole they're yours, they're not yours sort of thing. But before we get into it, not only is this a metal channel, but it's also a philosophy channel. So I want to ask you a philosophy question to get us going. So I would consider your band a part of this new renaissance that's going on in thrash metal. And whereas the beginnings in the 80s was mostly about war and Reaganomics and things like that, seems like this new wave is freer and happier and more about partying and hedonism. Do you have any theories on why that is, why the new thrash bands like yours and Municipal Waste are more positive and happy?
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably just take a look at the history, I don't think we're all living in, most of the bands that you mentioned and that I'm probably thinking of right now are from let's call them safe Western countries, you know. And I think the Alps or maybe Richmond, Virginia in 2020 or 25 is probably a whole different scenario than the Bay Area in the 80s.
Mm.
Uh, I think we still have shit stuff, but maybe at this point they were like it was the first 80s were like the first time that after the whole big wars and the whole crises, maybe people were thinking like, geez, it's still fucked up, you know? And we maybe since the 90s the early 2000s the world changed again, you know, and we at one point maybe people get sick of it, you know, maybe it's getting too close that people wanna find an escape. I don't know. You know, I studied history myself, and I still follow the news on everything. And if you really turn on the news today, or even if you just turn on Facebook or whatever, Instagram or you're using, it's not all that happy stuff.
Right.
But yeah, then again, we live in countries. You know, I live in Austria. I know that in the European continent there's a war going on, but I live here. Yeah, I can show you. I'm looking at snow-covered mountains. It was a beautiful day today, 20 Celsius. So that is probably like, probably 70s, 80s. And it's a lovely day. And the supermarkets are full. I'm going to a show tonight. I get to tour Europe. I meet new people. I watch cool stuff. I'm healthy. So I don't know what is there to complain about. And then in the other way, I'm living in a world where I feel bad for a lot of people too think like shit, what can I do? You know, and should I help them by telling it that's it's shit, or should I tell them like, come on, man, fuck, you can still have a party? And but yeah, I don't know. If you look at SOD maybe or DRI, they also had fun stuff. So it's probably mixed, but coincidentally, it's we take the factors, you know, and of course we have our occasional songs. We're from Christian countries, and I don't mind if people believe in stuff, but if as soon as you start forcing it up on other people, then I think you're doing it wrong. And it's kind of I believe in the science of myth. Whatever you believe in, whatever helps you, is probably worth it. But as soon as it stops other people from doing what they feel, then it sucks. So yeah, we have our songs about Jesus Christ because yeah, Jesus Christ lives in Europe. You know, it's not uh, yeah, that's what. No, but I mean, like Muslim culture is not a big thing here. Like I grew up, the things that I don't get to do have to do with the church. Our society is a Christian based society, and some things are cool. You know, I love Christmas, I love eating, I love meeting my family, but I don't want to hear the bells ring at 7 on Sunday when I just came home from a party. And yeah, so no, but it's hard. Yeah, but it's actually very interesting. Like I think we are still angry. Or we still have things that we don't agree with. You know, maybe it's also age thing. I mean, municipal ways. We are probably like all 40 something. You know, so maybe you look at things from a different perspective. You know, I've seen so many wars, but maybe if you're 18 now, you're just starting to realize that there's a whole world out there, and you turn on the television and you see that there's a war basically every 500 kilometers about nothing.
About
So,
nothing. Yeah.
but it's also like it's also so hard to get your mind around it. Like how people ask me, yeah, what would you do about Gaza? I'm like, yeah, I really don't know. You know, I really don't know. I don't think there's a right answer for me to give. I mean, maybe some people have the answers, but such a fragile and fucked up situation that's been going on for forever that yeah, I was born in the 70s and well, what am I gonna do? You know, I'm just a dipshit from a small western town, grew up fairly safe, you know, not extremely rich, not poor. What can you say about it? Will
Yeah.
heroes still be born in the West?
I think 2 points you made makes sense to me. I think, yeah, people are sick of it. So in the early 80s, that's the height of the Cold War. So we get a lot of thrash metal about nuclear war, and everybody was
Yeah.
on edge and scared. And I really don't feel like, especially given current events, that the Cold War really ended. They told us it
Nah.
ended. We had that period in the 90s, But if you look at what's going on now, it seems like we're in just as much danger as we were then. It's only now 40 years have passed and we managed to not blow each other up. So I think, yes, people are sick of it. And also people have gotten a bit complacent. You know, if it didn't happen in 40 years, maybe they're a little too comfortable. When that doesn't mean it still can't happen. And also, I think, you know, if I say, oh, there's all this stuff going on and I'm going to party, to me, that's, you could look at that two ways. Either somebody's just trying to ignore it, or to me, and you guys have this very punk rock sound, it's kind of rebellious. It's like, yeah, fuck that. You know, put your middle fingers in the air and let's thrash.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I come from the punk scene and I grew up with a lot of punk bands, and it's also just that my concerns or the things that I get angry about or the things that annoy me have nothing to do with war. You know, like you said, the 80s were still, in the 80s, everyone still had grandparents that vividly remembered the war days, you know? Here in Europe, the thing, and we didn't have the whole Korea and Vietnam thing, but my grandparents really, they lived during the Second World War. Now we're 40 years later, no one remembers it. You know, recently I had this girl, 20 something, ask me what is Auschwitz. You know, it's like it's a different time, and yeah, maybe that's also the feeling that we get. Like you pointed out, we're not afraid anymore because we 80 years now here on the continent that we have peace, that no one has had to go to war somewhere, that no one knows what a war is, you know, like, and then they complain, hey, the refugees, they're running for war. I would fight it. No, you wouldn't. No. Like, everyone would shit their fucking pantalones, man, if we would come to their country. Like, maybe there's some people that sign up for it and get used and trained for this. But if someone would invade where I live tomorrow, I wouldn't know what to do, man. I've never held a gun in my life. I don't know how to do that. Yeah. But yeah, it's we come from a punk background, and that's why that crossover, and it's all like SOD is probably my favorite metal, and probably there's probably some people that would say there's not even a metal record, but for me it has everything. It has the energy, it has the riffs, but he's so pissed off. He takes the piss out of everyone. He just mocks it, and that for me, I still like it. You know, it's a different time. Jokes different now than in the 80s for sure.
Yeah.
Police Academy would not be made in 2023 anymore, man. Like,
yeah, I think there's a real place for satire when it comes to that punk rock rebellion.
Yeah.
And speaking of, let's talk about the music on the EP now. Let's get away from that bummer war stuff. So again, Washimi and Tragedy, you've got 4, let's call them parody songs that could be satire, but you reimagined, let's say that you reimagined, you know, famous Guns N' Roses song, Iron Maiden song, George Michael, and then of course the titular Queen. What was the idea there? You know, you've got a real theme here with this EP.
Yeah, it really came together perfectly, man. I have to admit, since we started the band around the song called "Run to the Pit, March for Your Life." This was at a time when we had absolutely no intention of really starting a band and touring. We were 5 friends, and we had nothing to do. We went to shows, we went to metal shows, we went to punk shows, went to hardcore, D-beat, crust, and we would just be smoking weed and write down stupid stuff. So we had this Run to the Pit thing, move it forward 13 years. That song has been the closer of every set that we play so far. Like, we haven't played a show without ending with that song. People in Europe, they go crazy for it. They bring their own signs, and it's a faster version of "Run to the Hills." We made our own lyrics. It's a bit in the line of DRI songs, you know, In the Pit and stuff. And it just talks about what we do. We come there, we fuck shit up, and then we party. And we figured, yeah, it's so cool. But we got sick of that song at one point, of playing it. We've been playing it every year, every show. And I was like, oh man, we got to come up. So I started writing down random stuff like Bob Marley, we're jamming, we called it, we're slamming. I had red wine from Neil Diamond. And then they called it green slime. And we would try to sound like Obituary. And we would, because we love, that's the cool thing about crossover. You know, we are so, between the five guys in the band, we listen really from Tech Death to Weezer, everything that's kind of rocky. If it's 60s, 70s, 80s, blast beat, underground, Napalm Death, it can be black metal. But we try to just put everything. And then we said, like, okay, this Moshimian Thrashedy, this could totally work, was the first thing I wrote down. And we're just gonna try to put any element of our style in it. So put a blast beat in, then put a beat down in, then try to make it sound like Priest again. And yeah, sometimes it worked. But yeah, if you have those grades, you know, you already have a good fundament. Like Axl Rose is just the way he's so unique in how he sings. So it just becomes because I cannot sing like he. So it automatically becomes some sort of weird, either watered down or parodic version. But yeah, mixed with the music, I think it works. But
I do too. I had a good time listening to it. And in particular, the Iron Maiden song. It's like, first of all, to just make an Iron Maiden song about drinking beer, hats off to you. But also,
thanks,
when you're in the writing room, how did you balance? So, okay, we definitely want to make this sound like Insanity Alert, but we're also sort of paying homage to our heroes. So there's definitely some like Iron Maiden sections in there. How do you balance, you know, doing that respect, but also having that fun Insanity Alert time on there?
I think again, you come back to the different characters in the band. Our guitar player, Phil, he's probably, he's by far the biggest Maiden fan of the band. He loves them. He can sing any song. Where I mean, I know Maiden, but I'm always a bit sticking to the greatest hits. Like I'm not, for me, I come from the hardcore punk scene. So for me, Maiden was always a bit pop music in the beginning when I first discovered it as a 17, 18-year-old. And over the years, it grew on me, just like Beatles, you know, like many stuff. When I was an angry kid, so I loved fast shit. And now over the years, everything. So yeah, that's where I was just trying to make it hard, you know, with my vocals. And it took me forever to write those lyrics. They sound fairly easy, but I wasn't happy with what I was saying. At one point, it made no sense. So I figured I have to have a story in it a little bit, that it makes sense. It's not just a dude drinking beer. And yeah, then Phil started doing the backings and the riffage, and yeah, just took the best parts of the guitar. So it went supernatural. Actually, it was not really planned, but at one point, I think it's the best song of the record for me from those four songs. But I think that's also the one that's gonna have the biggest chance to end up in the set list for a long time. It's also fun to play a lot.
Well, speaking of being fun to play, the next question I wanted to ask is about the Queen reimagining, because, you know, thrash metal is known for the gang vocals. Everybody in the band gets to shout a little bit. And then you've got this iconic song that features the vocal harmonies so prominently. So you get to mix that like thrash gang vocal with the vocal harmonies of Bohemian Rhapsody. Was that a challenge to get the band doing, or did it just come easy?
No, it was probably the hardest thing we ever did in the studio. It started with the intro at first. Our guitar player made all these lines that Freddie does with a keyboard. And he told me, okay, learn this. And then you come to the studio and you do all 4 or 5 of them. Yeah, that was, I tried it one evening. I sat down for 3, 4 hours. I'm like, dude, I cannot remember this, you know, like I would maybe be able to do it if it runs on my headphones. So we tried that, but and it was just like, okay, fuck it. We'll try to double it and maybe just try to do it like the Everly Brothers, you know, just do the typical country backings and then see if we can add it through the mix, maybe add like a little effect on it that it sounds like. Eventually that worked. But then we came to the part that you just mentioned, that other people had to start singing, you know, and switching. Or like there's these parts where they go against each other, like a dialogue. It was so hard, but because also we speed it up fairly, you know, so it just goes super fast. When he sings Ronnie Dio, on the original, he really has time to do that. But here it's like Ronnie Dio, Ronnie Dio, Ronnie Dio, and it's almost impossible to cut it. So yeah, and then that was also tricky because we had the studio, but I changed the lyrics a few times because I wanted it to be as maximum funny for us. So at one point I had like Ronnie Dio and then I had Renault Clio. It's a car from France. And it makes absolutely no sense, but it sounded so good. But yeah, then the other guys forgot that. So they had just learned the old lyrics that I did and had to do that. So that was really, really complicated. Really complicated for us to do it because it really was the first time we did something like that.
Are you going to play it live?
Yeah, we're going to try it for sure. But like, yeah, like with every record that you make, now this one is a 4-piece, but the last record had 21 songs on it. And it was the third record. So yeah, at one point you're gonna make a selection of what works and what doesn't. And sometimes you throw in a few old ones. We just made a new set for the new festival season. We threw in some old ones, which was actually super refreshing to play them again. But also pretty hard because yeah, there was a reason why they didn't make it to the set in the first place. And yeah, it's like it's 5 people and we work with different guitar players too. So it's always hard who plays which part and can we do it? So yeah, for 80%, it's always a bit, you have to play safe because it's fast and it has to be tight. So yeah, we have to, and we live all far apart. So we don't do a weekly practice. So, but yeah, I really hope that we can somehow make Moshimi and Tragedy into the set list. They all work great. We're going to see how it ends up and yeah, take it from there. But we're playing the George Michael song. That one's the easiest actually. That one just really sounds a bit like more like these 90s West Coast skate thrash, like no effects and strung out. Good riff, but yeah, just like straightforward. There's not a lot of weird breaks in it. No breakdowns, no switches. So.
Speaking of festival season and the band always having a good time, let's end on this. Do you have a favorite that you're able to tell on the internet tour story with the band?
Oh, there's so many, man. Like this band really. I've been in bands before, but this band really never gets old. Well, think about it. And there is a good one. Actually, it's not one. It's probably not the best one. But the first time we went to England, we were a bit concerned about driving on the left side, and also, yeah, you know, we always try to get a sleeping place close or preferably in the venue because all of us like to drink, and yeah, drink and drive after the show is yeah not the smartest thing to do, especially not if they're driving on the left side. So it was really we spent 4 days with Ghoul. You know them, the
Yes.
band from. Okay, so I don't actually know where they're from. I always thought they were from California. Yeah, could be wrong. Anyway, we're spending 4 days with them. We're really like we rented a car, we're driving. We actually looked on YouTube how to use a stick shift on the left side. We didn't get an automatic. 4 days, partying, everything went great. Okay, we made it. So last day we have to go. Yeah, okay, go to the airport. But tomorrow we drop off the car before we get onto the airport. So we had a cheap hotel, and we drive it into the parking lot. Somehow it was dark, and we just fucking drive it into a pole.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's not really spectacular, but it was really this moment, like Jesus, we survived the whole country of Britain, and we didn't make it into a parking lot. So kind of a bummer. But most of the stories are like that. It's not that bad, you know. Nothing really bad or extreme. It's just always these things that I got hit in the face with an inflatable boat, and it really almost broke my nose. And everyone thought I was all right because it was an inflatable boat, but it just hit me like exactly right in the face. And that's always a bit the story like that. The day before Hellfest, we played a small show because we didn't want to get unprepared. We played the main stage. We were 7 bands: Anthrax, Lamb of God, Municipal Waste, Slayer headlining. We were the first band on the stage. The day before, our guitar player falls from the stage, like a tiny, small stage in Germany. They prepared themselves, and he almost breaks his hand. was the biggest show we ever had, and we were not sure until an hour before that we could play it. And that's basically the story of Insanity Alerts. Never fun never ends.
Isn't it funny that, bands like yours, bands like Municipal Waste, all these songs about drinking beer and having a good time, and the misadventure is always so innocent. And then you get these like real serious bands, and they have like terrible stories with alcohol that like ruin their lives and stuff.
Yeah. We meet them, man. Like we meet those. We meet like really serious black death metal bands, and they're everything. And then after these shit, because we party like hard, but we always, we know that we have another show to do, So there's always at least one that keeps an eye out on the rest, or someone said, okay, today I'm really not drinking. I'm just going to sit in the backseat with my headphones. You pick me up when you want to go. But it's important, because you don't want to fuck up. At least I don't. I mean, I used to fuck shit up with a lot when I was like in my 20s. I would really like not show up anything, but I love this band too much. And I mean, I like drinking a lot, but I don't have to be completely shit-faced to party. I mean, it's how it is. The party lasts longer if you drink slower.
That's the crux of Epicurean hedonism. It's not just about having a good time in the moment. It's about being able to maximize your good time. So if you just have a little bit of responsibility, you can actually party more.
Yeah, and more often, like if we always make sure that as soon as we're done and we don't have a black backline anymore on the stage, that we take care of this, that we just get it over with. Just put it in the car. Preferably put the car somewhere that we don't have to drive, and then it's easier. So then we don't get in a horrible accident, or we don't steal anybody's stuff, or we don't get an angry call from the club. Yeah, you left all your Marshall speakers on the stage. So you have to, yeah. Sort of, maybe it comes with the age. I prepare, because if I want to drink now, I really have to prepare a few days, and I know that I'm going to be out next 2 days. So you just have to organize your partying a little bit.
Yeah, I see you drinking water. I think that's a great message for all the other bands out there. And
I have to say that tonight I'm going to a show. Oh, sorry, dude. I'm going to a show by a band called Turbo Beer. So it's going to escalate. Hopefully it's in my hometown. I'm going to take the public transport, but it will get ugly.
Get your hydration in first.
For sure, dude.
Well, again, the new EP, Friday, May 17th. Insanity Alert, Bohemian Thrashity. It's awesome. I can't wait. And good luck with the release.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for having me on the show. And
my pleasure.